Welcome into the 247 Sports studios here in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Emily Proud, and I am thrilled to bring you the live commitment of five-star defensive lineman Aydin Breland. The modern-day standout is the #1 player in the state of California. He's a top 15 prospect nationally, and his finalists are Miami, Oregon, and Georgia. With a recruitment as wide open as this one, there's really only one man who can properly break it down for us, and that is the director of recruiting, Steve Wiltfong. Steve, as we look at these finalists, again, I said it is wide open between Miami, Oregon, and Georgia. So before he joins us to make his final decision, Steve, if you're there, what are you hearing?
Well, working this story with colleague Greg Biggins, all three programs have done a fabulous job recruiting Aydin Breland. All three programs have a chance to sign the nation's top defensive line haul here in the 2024 cycle. And at various points, I felt like each program has held the lead in his process. And all three programs, Emily, have certainly pushed here into Friday night. With that being said, a lot of the buzz has been around Oregon down the stretch. When I've talked to Aydin about Oregon in the past, he's talked about feeling at home in Eugene. He's talked about Coach Lanning and the staff's plan for his development, and he's seen that track record both at Oregon currently and at Georgia when Lanning was a defensive coordinator. And he says he gets a family feel from Coach Lanning, Coach Tosh Lupoy, and Coach Tony Tuioti. He's been to Eugene several times. Now, if you would have asked me this question a couple weeks ago, I might have answered Georgia. Georgia had momentum early in the fall. The two-time defending national champs speak for themselves to Breland. The NFL draft success, what Trey Scott and Kirby Smart have done and put out on the defensive line excites Breland. And he was back in Athens earlier this season for a game and got to experience what it's like between the hedges. Then Miami with Coach Cristobal, Coach Salavea, Jason Taylor, the new defensive coordinator, Coach Guidry. He's spoken highly about all of those coaches to me. Coach Guidry, the plan for the defense coming into the season, seeing it executed on Saturdays, I think that's something that's excited him, and he's liked the campus there too. And like I said, all these programs pushing to the end. So while the buzz has been around Oregon over the last 2 weeks or so, we'll see if something has changed here at the end as Aydin's about to tell us where he's going to go.
I feel like we often hear these three programs battling over prolific defensive linemen. More of the same with this one. Steve, thank you so much for breaking it all down. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's bring in the man of the hour joining us from California, five-star defensive lineman Aydin Breland. Aydin, thank you so much for being here. How's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
We are fantastic. So I see the shoes. That is wonderful. We always see hats or something fun there. You've narrowed it down to these three schools. I mean, how has this recruiting process really been for you?
The recruitment process has definitely been really long. It's been a wonderful process. Me and my family have been enjoying the whole process. But I finally come to a decision.
We are so excited. You have narrowed it down to Miami, Georgia, and Oregon. So before you pick one of these schools, tell us just overall, what did you like about these three options?
So throughout the recruiting process, like I said, we've narrowed it down to Miami, Georgia, and Oregon. So coming off of, let's go to Miami first. Miami, Cristobal gave my first offer when he was still at Oregon. Cristobal, as we all know, he went to Miami, and I didn't really talk to him too much until my sophomore year. And sophomore year, our communications started kicking back up, and it was kind of really cool to see how he still was recruiting me. The energy never changed from when he offered me, gave me my first offer in 8th grade. So I have a little bit of bias to Cristobal. And now that he has Jason Taylor and Joe Salavea at his or at Miami as well, that's a chance of development that you can't really pass up. You know what I'm saying? Having two Hall of Famers on the D line coaching you, that's a great chance to get developed and get to the NFL. Moving on to Georgia, I feel like Georgia speaks for itself, being the #1 college team in the nation. As some of you know, I have a teammate committed there, Nate Frazier. He's been trying to recruit me to the Dogs. So, but as far as Georgia goes, Kirby Smart and Trey Scott are really big contributors to the Georgia Bulldogs and me, and their defense and just Coach Schumann and the scheme he has up and using me as a 3-5 player. I like what the Bulldogs are bringing to the table. And as far as Oregon goes, Oregon is that West Coast school that I kind of settled on that, and that'd be my school that's close to home. And I really love the energy that Dan Lanning is bringing to the Ducks. He's completely revived that program. I feel like the Ducks are. I feel like he's totally can turn Oregon around. And Tosh Dupoy and the plans they have is developing me and using me as part of that defense. I really like what they're saying up there. And yep.
Man, what a tough decision. Aydin, thank you for such a thoughtful response about all of those programs. A lot of great options there, but I see that you're not alone at the table with the shoes there. First, will you tell us who's here with you today that you'd like to thank for getting you to this big day?
On my right here, I have my Uncle Christian and my mom, and on my right, whoa. On my right here, I have my stepdad, and on my left here, I have my Uncle Christian and my mom. Sorry, a little nervous.
That's all right. Okay, I'm going to stop asking you questions and just let you have the floor here. Aydin, where are you headed?
As I said, the recruitment process has been long and very bittersweet. Bittersweet is the perfect word to use for it because it's ups and downs throughout the whole. It is ups and downs throughout the whole process, and I'm just thankful for it all and happy that today has finally come. And without further ado, I'd like to announce my commitment for the next 3 to 4 years to the University of Oregon.
There you have it. He's putting on the shoes. Man, Aydin, we're not able to see those shoes. I don't know if you can get them maybe up on the desk, but we've got the hat. Huge congratulations. You just walked us through this entire recruitment process and just how crazy it has been for you. But Aydin Breland selects Oregon, getting ready to play in a big one today. So you broke down all the schools and all the great things that they offer, but why ultimately are you picking Dan Lanning and the Ducks?
What came down to it in the end, when it came to choosing a school and choosing Oregon, I feel like it really came down to the family feel that Dan and Coach Tosh and Coach Tony and the whole recruiting staff that Oregon brings. I love the people in Eugene. The fans love you. Eugene is just the environment of the city. I love it out there. It's nice. It's green. It's calm. And this is where I feel like I was just gonna get the best development. And honestly, what made it really important to me was a couple of weeks ago, because as you can see, Georgia, Miami, and Oregon, they're all in different parts of the country. So it didn't really matter where I went to school at for me. But what made a big difference was a couple of weeks ago, I think it was last week or something, I talked to my grandma, and my grandma was asking me where I was going to go to college at. And then she said she wants me to stay closer to home so she can come to a game. And that really kind of changed my perspective on things and made me want to stay home.
Wow, sounds like
home.
Wow. Sounds like Dan Lanning and his staff need to make a phone call to your grandma to thank her. That is fantastic. We love to hear kind of the thought process that goes behind selecting your college. So we've got one of our best analysts here in studio about to break down your game, but I want to hear from you. What kind of player is Oregon getting?
I'm a player that's going to make an impact to the defense. So wherever you line me up, wherever I'm out on the line of scrimmage, I just want to make an impact. I want to get off the ball. I want to get tackles for loss and sacks.
Certainly Ducks fans out there want to see that happen. A lot of them are in the chat if you're watching us on YouTube right now, and they are very excited to watch you play for their favorite team. So real quick, what's your message to some of those Ducks fans watching right now?
To the Duck fans in Oregon, let's go Ducks. Go Ducks. Go Ducks.
I love it. There you have it. Aydin Breland, future Oregon Duck. Thank you so much for letting us be a part of your big day. A huge congratulations to Aydin Breland, the #1 player in the state of California. Will be playing for the Oregon Ducks. Thanks to Grandma. We love to hear that. Of course, family very important to a lot of these players. Cooper Patagna here in studio with us. Cooper, we talked a little bit about Aydin Breland when we released the 5 stars on the college football recruiting show last week, but remind the people, what is Aydin Breland, or what is Jordan, what is Oregon getting in this man, Aydin Breland?
Well, they're getting a guy 6'5", 290 pounds, can play multiple positions on the defensive line. Like he said, I think that's kind of what he brings. I mean, what a huge get for Dan Lanning. That's the reason we call him the Danimal. He's got to go up against Kirby Smart, Mario Cristobal to get this done. You talked about the assist from Grandma. That's huge. But this is a guy that I think can make an impact early in Eugene. The big thing for Dan Lanning and his group, these guys don't come along very often. Last year was Mateo Uaongalele that they got to stay home. That was a big deal out of the West Coast footprint. And then you think about Aydin Breland. This guy was the prized possession. USC was not in this. Washington was not in this. UCLA was not in this. All those guys are going to the Big Ten. The Big Ten is going to be a physical brand of football. These are the type of dudes that you need in the trenches. I think his best football is ahead of him. He's only 17, 18 years old. He talked about Tosh Lupoy, Dan Lanning. Those guys know a thing or two about defensive lineman development. Huge kid for Oregon.
Yeah, you said dudes. It might not be just Aydin Breland. They're also in the running for another 5-star and recently uncommitted Elijah Rushing, and then a top 110 player at the same position in Jericho Johnson. How special could this Oregon defensive line potentially be if they land all 3 of those guys?
It could be the best defensive line haul in the class. And I think I talked about Florida. I wrote about Florida yesterday with the top 247 release. But when you think about Oregon, what they're doing, that's saying a lot because it is so hard to find this premium beef on the West Coast. And it kind of puts a smile on my face, you know, doing what I used to do and watching Dan Lanning and his staff doing what they're doing right now. That is a very difficult thing to do. So you think about them cornering the market, and you're talking about guys potentially, right? If they get Elijah Rushing from Arizona, if they get a Jericho Johnson from California, this is how you build a national championship contender. And I can't remember, just hypothetically, putting that type of class together, the last class that maybe rivaled that type of defensive line in the Pac-12 footprint. So this is saying a lot about what Dan Lanning wants to do. He's doing a really good job on the offensive side of the ball as well. If he can do this on defense, finish the cycle with Elijah Rushing and a guy like Jericho Johnson, no doubt, hands down. We'll see what happens with Georgia, right? Always got to keep an eye on them, but top 1 or top 2 or top 3 defensive line haul in the country.
Win number 1 of the day for Dan Lanning, hoping to make it a streak and beat Washington later this afternoon. But there you have it. Aydin Breland picks the Oregon Ducks. What a win for them. 247 Sports is the place to be for all things recruiting news. I mentioned those updated rankings. You can go check those out. We've got all the college football analysts, plus recently updated rankings and commitments, all of that and more. Check it out at 247sports.com.